Hello, and welcome to episode 5. Thank you thus far for your continuation of support on this journey. I really appreciate it, and I thank you so much for your well wishes, your support, your comments, and your feedback. Today, we're talking about leadership identity for persons of color. Unapologetic leadership, owning your voice, power, and story. Let's start here. If you are a person of color in leadership, you're not just leading tasks, you're leading through history. Let that sink in. You are leading through systems that were not built with you in mind. You are leading while being watched, while being measured differently, while being expected to be twice as good and half as loud. And still, somehow, you're expected to show up like it's normal. So I'm going to say what needs to be said. If you ever felt like you have to code switch your confidence, if you've ever felt like you have to shrink your presence to keep other people comfortable, if you ever felt like you have to manage perceptions more than performance, you're not crazy. You're navigating something very real. And today, we're going to talk about leadership identity because your identity is not a side note to your leadership. Your identity is a part of your leadership instrument. And if you don't own it, other people will define it for you. And that is the first leadership problem. Let me give you the core truth up front today. Leadership identity is the answer to one question. Who am I when the room pressures me to become someone else? Because that's the test. Not when it's easy, not when you're celebrated, not when you're in a room full of people who already get you. The test is when you're the only one. The test is when you're underestimated. The test is when someone questions your tone, your credentials, your competence, and calls it feedback. The test is when you're doing excellent work but still feel like you're auditioning. That's leadership identity. Here's the trap that catches a lot of us. We think leadership is mainly about skills. And yes, skills matter. But identity determines how you use your skills under pressure. Identity determines whether you speak up or stay quiet. Identity determines whether you negotiate or accept what they offer. Identity determines whether you advocate for yourself or keep hoping someone else notice or hoping that someone else will advocate for you. Identity determines whether you lead from power or from permission. And permission-based leadership is exhausting. Let's be real. Because you're always waiting for someone to validate what and who you already are. So let's name the invisible tax. A lot of persons of color pay extra tax in leadership. The tax of representation, the tax of stereotype threat, the tax of being the first, the only, or the one expected to speak for everybody. The tax of being celebrated publicly but sidelined privately. The tax of being given responsibility without authority. We've all been there. The tax of being asked to fix culture without being allowed to shape the culture. And here's the part that hurts most. Sometimes we internalize that tax like it's our fault. Like we just need to improve our executive presence. Like we need to just be more polished. Like we need to be less intense, less direct, less passionate, less us. No. Sometimes the issue isn't your leadership. Sometimes the issue is the environment. And the key part of leadership identity is learning the difference. And let me pause right here because context matters. For a lot of us, Leadership identity isn't just professional, it's cultural, it's spiritual, it's historical. We're carrying stories we didn't start and still being asked to lead with strength, clarity, and dignity. That's why I created a free Black History devotional guide. It's called Context for the Culture. It's designed to ground you, remind you who you are, and connect leadership to legacy. So you're not just surviving environments, you're leading from a deeper place. If you want a free copy, email me at theleadershipdrsb@gmail.com and just put in the subject line devotional guide. I'll make sure you get it. Now, let me give you a statement to stand on. You don't need to shrink to be strategic. Let's say it again. You don't need to shrink to be strategic. Your authenticity is not the enemy of your success. Your clarity is not aggression. Your confidence is not arrogance. Your boundaries are not attitude. And your excellence does not need to be packaged in an apology. We're done apologizing for presence. Now, I want you to build a framework you can carry with you. 3 pillars of leadership, identity for persons of color: name, claim, and sustain. Name who you are. Claim your leadership. Sustain your identity under pressure. Now, let's walk it through. Or, as the song says, let's walk it out. First, name. Naming is about language, because if you can't name what's happening, you'll personalize it. If you can't name the dynamic, you'll blame yourself. So we name realities like, I'm being held to a different standard. That feedback is vague and subjective. You got to be empowered to say that. This is a moving target. My competence is being questioned without evidence. I'm being asked to do the emotional labor of managing everyone's comfort. Naming is power, because when you name it, you stop spiraling. When you name it, you stop gaslighting yourself. When you name it, you stop negotiating with a lie. And here's a strong naming question you can use in real time. What would success look like specifically? Because vague feedback is a control tool. Clarity puts accountability back where it belongs. Another naming question: can you give me an example? Because when people can't give examples, what they're really often describing is a feeling. And quite honestly, you can't be expected to manage your career based on other people's unmanaged feelings. Second, claim. Claiming is ownership. It's the moment you decide, I am not here by accident. I am not here as a diversity experiment. I am not here as a temporary guest. I am here because I belong. And claiming changes how you walk into rooms. Because when you're trying to earn belonging, you will overwork. You will overexplain. You will overperform. You will accept disrespect to keep access. But when you claim your leadership, you shift. You stop auditioning. You start operating. Claiming looks like stating your expertise without apology, setting boundaries without guilt, negotiating without fear, saying no without a full essay, documenting your wins without feeling braggy, building allies without waiting to be invited. Let me say something that might free you. If you don't tell your story, people will tell it for you. So claim and own your narrative. Keep receipts. I love that phrase. I got the receipts. Keep your receipts. Track outcomes. Collect emails. Write down impact. Because in biased environments, your excellence needs evidence. Not because you're not excellent, but because systems respect documentation more than they respect lived truth. Third, sustain. Sustaining is the hardest part because the pressure is constant and identity gets worn down in subtle ways. Sustaining means you protect your center. You build an inner anchor. We talked about anchor in a previous episode, and you build an outer support system. Let me give you 4 sustaining principles. Practice 1, your circle. Every leader of color needs a circle that tells the truth, not a circle that just cheers. A circle that can say, that's not normal. That's not okay. That's not you. That's a system. Practice 2, your language. Watch the narratives you repeat about yourself. Stop saying, I'm lucky to be here. Start saying, I'm qualified to be here. Stop saying, maybe I'm too much. Start saying, maybe they're not used to leadership that looks like mine. Practice 3, your boundaries. Stop donating your peace to prove your worth. Boundaries are not walls, they're doors. They let the right people in and keep the wrong energy out. Practice 4, your healing. Because let's be honest, some of the pain we carry at work is not only about work. It's about the accumulation of being underestimated, overlooked, misread, and still expected to be grateful. Sustaining means you don't just build a career, you protect your soul. You protect your joy. You protect your health. Because success that costs your identity is not success. It's a transaction. Now, let's talk about the moment that defines leadership identity. It's the moment you get challenged, the moment you get interrupted, the moment someone questions your credentials, the moment someone labels your tone, the moment you feel your chest tighten and you have to decide, do I disappear or do I define the room? Here are 3 responses you can use that are calm, professional, and powerful. Response 1, I want to be clear. My point is, and fill in the blank. Response 2, I'm going to finish my thought and then I want to hear yours. Response 3, let's separate style from substance. Which part of the idea do you disagree with? That last one is a masterpiece because it pulls the conversation out of coded language and back into content, and it teaches the room how to treat you. Now, I want to say something to the person listening who feels tired. Tired of being the only one. Tired of being strong all the time. Tired of feeling like you have to outwork bias. Hear me clearly. Your leadership identity is not built by perfection. It's built by alignment. Alignment between your values and your actions. Alignment between your voice and your choices. Alignment between your purpose and your boundaries. That's what makes you powerful. Not performing, not proving, not begging to be seen, but standing in who you already are. So, as I bring this to a close, leadership identity for persons of color is not about fitting in. It's about showing up whole. It's about refusing to shrink. It's about leading from rootedness, not from survival. It's about saying, I will not trade my identity for access. I will not trade my voice for comfort. I will not trade my dignity for a seat at a table that doesn't respect me. Because I am not a guest in leadership. I am a leader fully right now. And if the room isn't ready for that, you got to be bold enough to say, then the room is the one that needs to evolve, not me. Continue to be strong, continue to be brave, and continue to be true to who you are. Until the next episode, thank you.